Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I am going to share my most memorable reads in 2023. So in 2023, I read 16 books, and these are the ones that really stand out to me, and I'll explain why as I share each book. So the first one is Susannah's Garden. I had actually read this before I decided to start making book related videos on YouTube, but I gave this a 3.5 stars. I didn't know that it was a part of a series when I read it, and I don't know if this is a book that I would reread or if I would even read any other books in this series, but it is memorable because it was just like it was just like a lot of drama and craziness in this book that I didn't expect based on the title. It is kind of reflective, and the main character is kind of like learning and growing and understanding herself, but it was just like, oh my gosh, I can't even explain it. It was just a lot, but it's still a book that I think of, today. So it was definitely memorable. If you like drama, then this may be a good book for you. It's relatively clean. There's like a few scenes in here that I skipped, but I don't know how far it actually went. It might not have even been like detailed. I just chose to skip it. But yeah, most memorable. So Susannah's Garden. The second one is Hudson Taylor, An Adventure Begins. So I gave this 5 stars. It was really good. It's basically, well, yeah, it is kind of like a biography, but the way that it's written is just really good. Like you get to hear about Hudson Taylor's family and just his life, how he became a believer. If you don't know, Hudson Taylor was a missionary in Asia. So it was just showing like his whole process, and I was so inspired by his faith when I read it. I just thought it was so good. So the person who wrote it did a really good job of like weaving his story together. Loved it. So 5 stars. The next book that was most memorable to me was Stewards of Eden. If you watched my fall reading vlog and then maybe another like review video that I did, you will know that I DNF'd Stewards of Eden the first time that I tried to read it. I came back to it at a later date, and I like, oh my gosh, it was just really, really good. And I was so shocked to give it a 5 stars. It is a nonfiction book, and it's about how we should be viewing like the environment and how we as Christians have a responsibility to actually steward the resources on this earth. It impacted me a lot. It's definitely a book that I need to go back and look at. So yeah, 5 stars. Um, the next book that was most memorable to me, and I did not give this a rating, it was Flowers for Algernon. I regretted pushing through for as long as I did. I honestly wish that I would have DNF'd it sooner because it's not that it's not a well-written book, but there's so much like trauma and just so much stuff in there. I was listening to it on audio. Like I just still remember it, and even when I think about it, I just don't feel good. And I was shocked because I read this book when I was in high school, and I remember like really liking it. I knew that it was really sad, but the extent of how sad it was and all the stuff that was in there, it was just too much. Side note, I don't know if in high school we read like the short story version of it, because the one that I listened to was the novel, and they're probably a bit different, so that might explain why I had a different reaction. But yeah, definitely regretted pushing through the way that I did and did not give it a rating, but it's a memorable read for sure. Yeah. The next one is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, which I gave a 4.5 stars. Now, I just, yeah, I just really, her writing is so, it's just really good. Like, it's so well written, it's beautiful, and there's just something about kind of knowing a little bit about the history, the time period that she was writing in. I really feel like she wrote about some topics that would have been like radical. I actually mentioned in another video because I read the whole series, you know. But in Little Men, I mentioned like a couple things that I didn't like how they talked about Thanksgiving without really acknowledging like how Native Americans might feel about that day, and then um, not really mentioning the cook. I think they had like a cook or something that was black, and not really giving her like a backstory. But honestly, after reading the whole series, I do think that like she she touched on such like radical things for her time period, and it's just good. Like it's just really good. So yes, I really enjoyed Little Women. I have watched um at least like, yeah, no, not at least, but I had watched like two versions of that movie before reading it, so it was cool. But reading the whole series was amazing because you get to see like the main characters grow up, and then like in Little Men, there's like a bunch of, not a bunch, but kind of like all of these boys that she was like raising because they were in this school. She I hope I explained that okay. Like she had a school that like kids who maybe didn't have money or whatever like would be sent there. And so she kind of like helped to raise these children, and you get to see them like grow up in the series. But anyway, I thought Little Women was beautiful. There was just a lot that I liked about it. The reason that I put this in here as a memorable book isn't necessarily because of the book itself, but the reason that I'm saying that it's memorable is because it's what led me to more of Louisa May Alcott's works. So it was kind of like the start of me realizing, like, wow, I really like this author, or at least I really like this series, but I think I also really like this author because I just appreciate how creatively she wrote things. And yeah, it was just good. I could go on for a long time about that. But since I'm gonna move on to Jo's Boys, I'll try to space it out. So, Jo's Boys was the last book of the series, also written by Louisa May Alcott. I gave a 5 stars. This is the first 5 star that I've given her for the series. So, Little Women I gave 4.5 stars. Little Men I gave 4.25 stars or 4.25 stars. And yeah, Jo's Boys I gave it 5 stars. All really good ratings, by the way. So yeah, it was, you guys. I mentioned it in another video. I think that video is going to be posted before this one, probably. But Jo's Boys is my favorite book in the series. It was just, yeah. And some of the things that I was saying about Little Men, like her not really acknowledging what, Native Americans have been through, she does that. And there's even like, so there's this college that someone starts, I'll say, and it's like a college that anybody could go to. So even black people at that time who, were basically looked down upon, like could attend the school. And I loved that she called them freed individuals. Like, yes, yes. So there was just so much about Jo's Boys that I loved. I really loved seeing her grow up even more, and I loved seeing the boys grow up too. It was just written so well, and I I enjoyed it so much that I didn't want it to end. And after it ended, I was like, oh my gosh, like I feel like I just grew up with these characters or have been like watching so much of their lives and now it's over. Like I seriously did not want it to be over. And that's why I ended up giving it a 5 stars because it just made me feel that way, you know? Those are all the books. So those are my most memorable books in 2023. Thank you for watching this video. I just want to throw in a little side note about 5 star reads. So, um, yeah, I never, like, I watch other booktubers, right? And I've heard people talk about like the 5 star feel that you get. And I never really knew what that meant until I finished Joe's Boys. Like, there's something about certain books where you just know that it's 5 stars because of maybe the way that it impacted you or just maybe the way that it's written. Like, I can't even fully express what it is about her writing that I love so much, but I think it's those books are also really cool because they touch on these different like morals, and especially in Joe's Boys I felt like she was even more bold in just kind of like using scripture or putting in like Christian themes, and at the same time are not all of the characters like have the same beliefs. So she writes it in a realistic way, but I really feel like the things that she cared about were put in that book. I don't know. I could be like reading so much into it, but that's how it made me feel. So, yeah, I think when it comes to 5 star reads, it's just like you just know when you're done. And the fact that I enjoyed it so much that I didn't want it to end, it means so much. Like, I ran downstairs to tell my mom how much I loved the book. So, yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. But thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll talk to you in my next one.